My name is Tori Lynn Yeager. I work for the city of Bangor. I am their outreach caseworker for those who are experiencing homelessness. So we have a couple different programs. The main program that we run is general assistance. So we have folks who have little to no income, are on a very tight budget, be able to apply for assistance, whether it's for housing, clothing, food, bus tickets. We try to meet people where they're at and provide any gap filling that we can do for them. The other thing that we offer is through public health, we do immunizations. We also have the WIC program, which helps mothers and families and children be able to get nutrients that they need. We also have Shelter Plus Care, which is a voucher program that helps folks be able to obtain housing and to be able to afford it long term. And then myself, the homeless outreach caseworker, I see a lot of folks who have pets, which is a big deal for anyone who has an animal. You understand that they become your children. And unfortunately, we don't have a shelter around here that allows folks to bring in their animals. We also have a need for more family options. Right now, the closest family shelter is down in Ellsworth, and it is on a wait list that's probably about a mile long. People are able to get in, but it takes time. And unfortunately, when you have littles and you're living in your car, you don't have time. I think the other big thing is we have folks who want to go back to work, but they have limited skills, want to get back to school. But when you don't have a place to rest every night and you don't know where your next meal is coming from, it's very hard to do that.
Hi, I'm Jim LaPierre. My wife and I own and operate Higher Ground Services in Brewer. We are an outpatient counseling center. We focus on treating mental illness, specifically helping folks who have survived trauma in their life recover, and we support recovery from substance use disorder. When I'm not running Higher Ground and working as a therapist, I get to support a lot of local missions, including the Bangor Area Recovery Network. What I especially am drawn to about Barn is that it allows me to donate my professional services to an organization that is completely grassroots, and all the services that we provide are completely free. My favorite thing about Barn is that it provides a safe place for people to be and socialize and connect with people who have lived experience. We know that there's 100 good reasons why providing food for food insecurity and providing shelter and those types of things are very important. What a lot of us may not realize is that those also promote recovery from substance use disorder. So the fulfillment of basic life needs is one of the most paramount pieces to helping people overcome addiction.
So I'm Melissa Smith, the office manager at Food and Medicine. Food and Medicine is in Brewer, a nonprofit that works on different root causes of poverty. Food insecurity is one of our main focuses. Improving public transportation. We organize the network of community gardens and collective gardens, which I think are up to 14 gardens now. We organize Solidarity Harvest. This is our 20th year. We've partnered a lot with St. Pat's, and happy to talk about how we can continue to partner together. Mostly food insecurity, which is where we have program areas, access to healthy food, transportation to get to, whether it's the stores or food pantries, and to jobs, finding childcare so that you can also get to your job. And all of those are things that we need to improve in the community.
My name is Willie, and today I'm representing an organization called Needlepoint Sanctuary. Needlepoint Sanctuary is a small organization in Bangor dedicated to, among many other things, protecting the lives of people who use drugs. Our organization is a mutual aid-based harm reduction organization. Mutual aid is a practice of community members helping other community members meet their most basic survival needs. Harm reduction is an approach to public health that seeks to minimize the harms associated with drug and alcohol use. It recognizes that drug use is a part of human society, and it seeks to meet the needs of individuals without judgment or demands for sobriety. Needlepoint began as an effort to offer low-barrier harm reduction to our community. We saw that many were unable or afraid to access the services that existed in our community, so we brought them to the street. We offered food, clothing, and other goods our community members who were suffering needed. Many of us did not know the definition of mutual aid when we started, but this is what we began doing. Although the term mutual aid is relatively new, its general concept is not. People have been practicing it for thousands of years. Christians are no strangers to it either. To describe the needs that we see in this community, I would say that there are many, and that while they have their modern complications, they are in their essentials the same needs that have often existed in communities throughout time. The needs in our community are housing, greater opportunity, and less violence and oppression at the hands of, for lack of a better word, the state. The same types of people who antagonized Jesus and his disciples in Jerusalem, the Pharisees, the Roman officials, exist in our society, but they have proven themselves incapable of meeting the needs of the community, which is why it is the community itself which must step up and meet these needs.
Hi, I'm Peg Olson. I'm representing Faith Linking in Action. Faith Linking in Action, otherwise known as FLIA, was formed in 2012 by a group of faith leaders who were interested in going upstream to find the root causes of poverty in the Bangor-Brewer area. In 2015, St. Patrick's was able to obtain a $15,000 grant in the Episcopal Diocese of Maine. This grant supported the Holyoke Street neighborhood garden at St. Patrick's, as well as other joint FLIA and food and medicine activities. These activities heavily supported the work related to food access, from canvassing the Bangor neighborhoods to survey their use of SNAP benefits, their access to fresh vegetables, building and expanding other neighborhood community gardens in both Brewer and Bangor. Faith Linking in Action worked heavily in the Transportation for All movement to improve bus transportation accessibility. The Transportation for All group is working also to expand the bus routes throughout the Bangor area to include places of worship. Faith Linking in Action's Childcare and Jobs team works on policy change at the state level. Faith Linking in Action sees the ongoing problems of accessible, quality childcare, food access, and housing for people living in poverty in the Bangor-Brewer area. Each of these problems has been magnified by the COVID epidemic.
Hi, I'm Officer Elizabeth Ash. I'm the Community Resource Officer for Bangor Police Department. Specific role in the community is to be a bridge, just basically being a warm face for people to connect with at the PD, and make sure that we're involved everywhere we need to. I do a lot of mediation, so helping a neighbor who has an ongoing call with another neighbor, helping a business solve a long-term problem that a 911 call really couldn't help. Some of the problems that I see throughout my day, we see a lot of food insecurity, we see a lot of housing inaccessibility, so lack of affordable housing, and also we deal with mental health crises. We do have food pantries in Bangor, which are outstanding. However, what people don't realize is that sometimes people don't have a means of getting to food pantries, or they're elderly or they're disabled. Knowledge of food pantries, I've had officers call me when they're out with somebody and they just don't know where the food pantry is. But then there's also obscure hours. It's complicated, so again, just educating the public about what is available. And sometimes it's awesome that education comes from a police officer who's at your home for a totally different matter. As if we're at someone's house for a welfare check, or at someone's house for a smoke alarm, just to be observant and look around. If I notice that the cupboards are bare, just ask the question, like, hey, are you having an okay time getting food? Or where do you normally get your food from? once you have those resources, like, well, did you know that you can go to the brick church over on Union Street? From dealing with the families in our community, from hearing their stories, I again go to as many community events as I can, whether that's a block party or a water park party at the splash pad over in Cape Park. I hear time and time again, I guess, access to childcare, having somebody watch their children when they're trying to go to work.
Myself and other members in the community have been asking churches to open their doors if they're able to, especially on rainy, cold days like this, for a couple hours even. Provide a hot meal, let somebody come in, get warm, have the ability to have volunteers if possible, drive folks over to another resource like the brick church that offers clothes and stuff to get nice, dry, warm clothes so that you're not having to come in, try to dry off, and then go back out into the cold. Another thing would be, we have a lot of folks who are in need of transportation. If you don't have volunteers that could do that, maybe fundraising to be able to get some bus tickets or bus pass for folks who are trying to go back to work or go to school, to make sure that they're able to get back so that they don't have to stress about, how am I getting to work? I'm trying to save money, but I don't know how to get to work. I got to call an Uber, or I got to beg a ride off a coworker. And, they're human beings. They got pride, and it's a private matter. And to ask your coworker and explain your situation is very humbling. And at the same time, it's a power and control kind of thing. And I have a lot of folks who they'll get employed. They'll have a friend or somebody that they trust that is able to get them back and forth to work. And then, their car breaks down, or they're running late a day. So now you're running late a day, and that adds up. And employers some are compassionate, but a lot of them just don't care. There is such a shortage of workers, and they know that if they post a job, they're going to find somebody.
My very first thought is the work that Father Nellery undertook at the beginning of the opioid epidemic. Father Nellery did a wonderful job of bringing different communities of faith together, very much in keeping with what you folks are doing now. The very work that Jesus called us to do, to care for the poor and the sick and to feed the hungry. The things that your community is most interested in working, all of those relate directly to substance use disorder. And all of those are areas of concern that local churches have expressed concern about, wanting to provide support to. But we rarely, if ever, do these things ecumenically. I think a lot of us who are in the work professionally are waiting and hoping that maybe a handful of folks from the faith communities will step up where Father Nellery left off. So that begins with folks who are homeless, folks who have food insecurity, and folks who face just very pragmatic obstacles to addiction recovery.
As far as our particular programs and how we can do some partnering with St. Pat's and your congregation, volunteering around Solidarity Harvest. We still have volunteer needs for that. And then for the gardens, some of those have fewer participants. And so we're kind of organizing a group of volunteers to help support some of the gardens that don't have as many active volunteers and residents in their own community to help keep those gardens active and healthy and producing. The gardens are a source of food, but they're also a source of community, so that the people are working together on something where you maybe didn't know the neighbor 3 doors down. I mean, obviously it's a problem with getting food to people and people to food. The possibility of like a mobile food pantry. The other thing is that food stamps don't cover toilet paper and soap and shampoo and other feminine hygiene stuff. There's, I think, a real need for those things. And that's a dignity issue too. I mean, to have to go to the dollar store and get the bottom of the barrel type stuff or the teeny tiny little stuff.
All the things mentioned in Matthew 25:40 are underway in our community, and many of them St. Patrick's already engages in. The role that St. Patrick's can play in facilitating these needs has already begun when St. Patrick's made the decision to, as a congregation, open its heart to hear the voice of other community members. We thank you for this. Where this work continues is up to the congregation, but in terms of any collaboration with us and our organization, We would invite you to join us for our weekly outreach. We invite you all to learn how to use naloxone and to give it to those in your life that might have cause to use it. And to begin with us, more conversations, the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
In a dream world, St. Patrick's would be fully neighbor to the community. St. Patrick's would become a community center where anyone seeking advice about the problems of food access, childcare, or housing could come. There would be offices for nonprofit organizations such as Faith Linking in Action, Dignity First, Partners for Peace, or otherwise known as Care and Comfort, a food cupboard, and possibly a daycare center for both children and elders. Each of the organizations using St. Patrick's facilities could support it through contracted rental fees. Faith Linking in Action could be a communications vessel for the services being housed in the center, and an advocate for change within the Bangor-Brewer area and the state of Maine. Because of St. Patrick's location on the community bus line, it is accessible for people without other transportation during the days and hours the bus operates.
There are a lot of outreach organizations in town, and there's a lot of people working, whether it's Tori Lynn, our homeless outreach caseworker representing the city, or there's multiple private agencies in town that have outreach teams. I think if you're coming into the outreach game, it needs to be a collaborative effort. And then with regards to the building, my advice would be figure out what form of outreach you want to do first and what the need is, and then move from there whether or not a building is needed. The Red Brick Church on Union Street, but it's a multi-purpose space. And they not only serve food, they have a free store where people could come in.